Thank you very much. To combat these wicked extremist organizations, I signed legislation to withhold U.S. taxpayer dollars from the Palestinian Authority until they stop rewarding terrorists with blood money. Another thing that no other administration would do, I would say to them, I went back and spoke to negotiators, because for years and years they've been trying to make this deal. I said, did you ever hold back the money? They said, no. Why? We didn't think it was right to do. I said, I do. I do. So we don't pay anything anymore. And we look forward to the day when we can help out. But right now, if they're going to say bad things about us, if they're going to do evil acts, we're not paying it. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. It's a lot of money. Almost $600 million a year. So we withhold it, and hopefully we'll work a deal and everybody will be happy. Across the Middle East, my administration has made historic progress to crush the depraved and sinister forces of radical Islamic terrorism. When I took office 3 years ago, ISIS controlled more than 20,000 square miles in Iraq and Syria. That's the equivalent of the state of Ohio in size. Today, the ISIS caliphate has been 100% obliterated, 100%. And just a few weeks ago, U.S. Special Forces, incredible soldiers, brought the world's #1 most wanted terrorist to justice. The monstrous animal known as al-Baghdadi, the founder and leader of ISIS, is dead. Never again will this savage killer hurt another man, woman, or child. You saw the men in the orange jumpsuits with somebody behind them, a savage with a knife, and they chopped off the head. That was al-Baghdadi. That was al-Baghdadi's people, and a lot of people died that way, and they died a lot of other ways too. And he died a rough way. And these soldiers, 68 of them, they jumped off those helicopters, and I watched it. It was incredible. I literally was able to watch it because of what we can do technologically. I watched it, and it was an incredible sight. They jumped off long before those helicopters were anywhere near to the ground. Michael would understand that very much because he was a great soldier. But they jumped off those helicopters, and they charged that house, and the enemy didn't have any idea what the hell hit them. It was incredible, actually, to see. Incredible. Our message to the bloodthirsty terrorist is clear. You don't stand a chance against the awesome power of the United States military. I have rebuilt the United States military. When I took it over, it was depleted. It was old. We had fighter jets that were 50 years old. It was old, it was tired. Now we've spent $2.5 trillion on rebuilding our military, and we have a military that's the most advanced, the most powerful by far of any in the world. $2.5 trillion. We rebuilt our military. My administration is also confronting the world's #1 state of terror. You know who that is? Your state sponsor of terror, the brutal dictatorship in Iran. And I said to Sheldon, what do you think was bigger? Israel, and if you look, what was the bigger thing? Israel and the embassy going in, and it became Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, or the Golan Heights? He said, neither. I said, what do you mean neither, Sheldon? He said, the biggest thing you did for Israel was breaking up and terminating the horrible, one-sided, catastrophic deal that was made by President Obama. Right? I said, I never thought of it that way, Sheldon, but I agree with you. If you want to know the truth, I agree with you. We paid $150 billion to Iran, $1.8 billion in cash. We got nothing. But that's a different country today. That doesn't mean they're going to come out and hit, and they might not. But they have riots all over their country. They don't have money. We put sanctions on them, the strongest sanctions ever imposed on a country. And let's see what happens. Their GDP went down 25% this year. 25. Nobody's ever even heard of that. So we'll see. And you know what? Can never give them a nuclear weapon. We can never do that. We can never do that. But maybe we'll be able to make a deal. The regime funds violence and chaos and mayhem throughout the region, but the greatest victims are its own people. In recent weeks, we've seen the Iranian people rising up to reclaim the noble destiny of their nation. In response, the dictatorship has killed hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of those people. Probably thousands. You know, they turned off the internet. There's no internet. There's no form of communication. I believe thousands of people have been killed. Thousands and thousands of people have been arrested. America will always stand with the Iranian people in their righteous struggle for freedom. The Iranian regime routinely traffics in the most toxic and heinous anti-Semitism. You know that better than anybody. Last year, the country's supreme leader, as they call him, said Israel is a malignant, cancerous tumor that has to be removed and eradicated from the face of the earth. We must never allow a regime that chants death to America or death to Israel to obtain a nuclear weapon. That's all we can say. And it's for this reason that I withdrew the United States from that disastrous Iran nuclear deal and implemented those sanctions, which are so biting and so tough. We're also working to free hostages unjustly detained around the world, including in Iran. This morning, you probably read and probably saw, I announced that Zi Wang, an American citizen and Princeton University grad student, imprisoned in Iran for 3 years during the Obama administration, taken during the Obama administration, was not a spy, by the way, is coming home. Throughout history, anti-Semitism has produced untold pain, suffering, evil, and destruction. We must not ignore the vile poison or those who spread its venomous creed. My administration is committed to aggressively challenging and confronting anti-Semitic bigotry in every resource and using every single weapon at our disposal. Roughly 80 times this past decade, the United Nations Human Rights Council has denounced Israel while ignoring many of the worst human rights abuses anywhere in the world. To call out this egregious hypocrisy, I withdrew the United States from the UN Human Rights Council. Recently, the European Union Court of Justice has also tried to discriminate against products made in Israeli settlements, advancing the agenda of anti-Israeli boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, or commonly known as BDS. You know all about it. You know all about it, right? My administration has now corrected a long-standing injustice by officially declaring that international law does not prohibit civilian settlements in the West Bank. And as president, I want to be very clear, my administration vigorously condemns the BDS campaign against Israel. But sadly, BDS has also made disturbing headway on American college campuses. You know that, don't you? Here with us today is Adela Kohab, a recent graduate of New York University, who courageously stood for Israel in the face of hostility and bigotry, incredible hostility and incredible bigotry. Adela, would you please come up? and quickly or not quickly, any way you want, share your story. Please come up. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Adela Kochab, and 6 months ago, I took legal action against NYU, only 2 weeks before graduation. My university failed to protect its Jewish community from ongoing harassment, from attacks on social media to resolutions on student government, to boycotts, flag burnings, and physical assault. The physical assaults ended in 2 arrests, and the university didn't stand idly. Instead, they gave an anti-Israel hate group the President's Service Award, the highest honor you can receive as a group on campus. I was notified my case was accepted by the Department of Education, and an investigation has been launched against NYU for failure to protect its community. To all of the students in the audience today, don't be afraid to stand up, because you deserve better. And as an immigrant myself from Mexico City, I am extremely thankful to live in a country where the Office of Civil Rights takes the concerns of Jewish students seriously. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all for supporting the work that we do on campus.
Thank you, Adela. Thank you very much, Adela. Shockingly, a number of far-left members of Congress have also recently joined the international effort to bully, attack, and denigrate Israel. And it's incredible what's been happening with your Congress. 10 years ago, it was unthinkable. 6 years ago, it was pretty unthinkable. And now to see what's going on and to watch Nancy Pelosi and these people be pushed around is unbelievable. Earlier this year, a number of prominent Democrat lawmakers sponsored legislation to support the BDS movement. You know that, right? Outrageously, the resolution compared boycotting Israel to boycotting Nazi Germany, a grave insult to the memory of the 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust. You remember that, don't you, where this was just put before Congress. This is different than what it was. This couldn't have happened 10 years ago, couldn't have happened 20 years ago. It would have been impossible. 10 years ago it would have been impossible. You've got to be very careful. Make no mistake, radical lawmakers who support the BDS movement are advancing anti-Israel and anti-Semitic propaganda, and Americans will not stand for it. We're not going to stand for it. We've also seen far-left members of Congress proliferate dangerous anti-Semitic rhetoric. You've seen it. It's rhetorically and morally unacceptable. One lawmaker even wrote that Israel has hypnotized the world and said support for Israel is all about the Benjamins. You heard that? And I'll be honest, that's one of the nicer statements. Far worse, she said far worse than that, and so did others in Congress. My administration strongly opposes this despicable rhetoric, and as long as and I am standing before you, as long as I'm your president, it makes no difference. It's not happening, okay? It stops at my desk. From America's earliest days, Jewish citizens have made some of the greatest and most extraordinary contributions to American life and culture. Jewish Americans have fought, bled, and died in every major American war dating back to our struggle for independence. On this very morning, 78 years ago, more than 2,000 Americans were killed in the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. 3 days after that attack, a Jewish American airman from Brooklyn, Master Sergeant Meyer Levin, was among the first Americans to bomb a Japanese warship. Sergeant Levin went on to fly in more than 60 harrowing missions in World War II, a great hero. In 1943, he volunteered for another dangerous mission. On his way back, he and his crew were caught in a violent storm, and their plane began to stall. Sergeant Levin's final act was one of selfless sacrifice. He unfastened the life raft and gave it to his fellow airmen. As they jumped out of the crashing plane, he shouted, "I hope you make it, I hope you make it." 3 American airmen survived that day because of Sergeant Levin's extraordinary valor. One of those brave airmen was his friend, Jack Mastersoff, also a Jewish American from Brooklyn. Jack went on to complete another 43 missions in World War II. After the war, he came home, got married, and soon he had 2 sons. One of them is Alan Mastersoff, a veteran of the Army Reserves who spent 17 years as a police officer. Alan would not have been born without Sergeant Levin's bravery, and Alan joins us here tonight. And Alan, I will tell you, your presence this evening testifies to the love and the strength of a great American hero. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alan. In every generation, Jewish American patriots have strengthened, sustained, uplifted, and inspired our nation. In a moment, the Shalva Band will conclude this event with a song that we know very well. Before they do, I want to tell the famous story behind it. In 1918, a young Jewish American soldier stationed at Camp Upton in New York wrote a prayer in the form of a song. His name was Irving Berlin, maybe the greatest of them all. And he held that song close to his heart for more than 20 years. He did not release the song until 1938, as the world learned of Hitler's evil atrocities against the Jewish people. On November 10th of that year, his song broadcast through the radio and into the homes all across the country. Millions and millions of people were inspired. It was the first time Americans heard Irving Berlin's timeless hymn, "God Bless America." These words became the prayer of our nation, the prayer that traveled to the islands of the Pacific, to the beaches of Normandy, and all the way to Nazi territory, where American soldiers opened the gates of concentration camps and liberated Jewish survivors. It's the prayer that Americans sang as we faced down communism and as we came together as one nation after 9/11. It's the prayer that still unites us today, and the hope that burns bright in our hearts, because we are proud American patriots. We love this magnificent nation with every ounce of our strength, spirit, and soul. So tonight together, we ask that God bless our military. We ask that God bless our veterans. We ask that God bless our cherished ally, the State of Israel. And with our flag waving high, our people standing tall, and our faith forever strong, we say our prayer once more. God bless America, our home, sweet home. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask the Shalva Band back to the stage for a very, very special performance. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet
They are fantastic. Thank you. Shalva Band. Thank you. Fantastic. So it's been a great honor to be with you tonight. God bless Israel. God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.